Chilling park ranger tales, why you should never visit alone after midnight. The forest breathed a heavy silence, shattering only at the sound of snapping twigs beneath cautious steps. Weird things lurked in the shadows, the kind of tales that made those who dared to explore the park after dark feel a chill run down their spines. Legends whispered of rangers who heard whispers in the wind and shadows that became too real. Pictures of serene woods filled with dreams were replaced by eerie sights, faces that vanished when startled, moans echoing through fog, and strange lights dancing in the distance. Today, the tale of Ranger Blake would set fire to your imagination. In the light of day, Blake was the calm in the storm. A seasoned ranger with a reassuring grin, he steered curious campers away from danger. But night fell, and the forest transformed into a monster, its secrets held close. Every time he walked the path, the air thickened, tangling with a blend of pine and dread. He could swear he felt eyes watching him from the trees. His heart pounded, its rhythm a dark beat in the silence. Suddenly, he saw it. A flicker of movement that wasn't just the shadows dancing. He spun around, heartbeat racing, gasping at nothing, or was it something? The sensation hit him, a tightening in his chest. It wasn't just the remnants of his lunch, it was fear creeping in, a shiver like fingers tracing the nape of his neck. Yet, he pressed on, determined to investigate the flickering light that seemed to beckon him deeper into the unknown, and then it happened, the very thing everyone warned against. A scream pierced the night, shattering the quiet. Ranger Blake froze. The air was suddenly heavy with something unnameable, thick with anxiety and a primal urge to flee. He hesitated, caught between duty and raw instinct. It was no ordinary scream, it felt alive, pulsating. Shadows swirled around him like a living thing. What had he wandered into? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a mix of dread and determination, Blake took a step toward the sound. The trees whispered secrets, branches clawed at his clothes, and a shape emerged, a glimpse of someone lost, face twisted in terror. The figure turned, eyes wide, mouth forming words Blake couldn't hear. Panic surged. What happened next? Fate held its breath, and the woods trembled with anticipation. Who or what was out there, waiting in the dark? As fear clutched at his throat, the chilling truth waited to be uncovered. Blake's breath caught in his throat as he stepped closer, his instinct screaming at him to run. The figure before him shuddered, gripping its arms as if trying to hold its sanity in place. But his feet refused to obey. Something about that face, twisted in terror, drew him deeper into the eerie dance of shadows. Help me. The words finally broke through the silence, sharp and desperate like a splinter in the night. Was it a man or a woman? All Blake could see were wild eyes, stark against the dark backdrop of the woods. Blake inhaled deeply, pushing down the nausea rising in his throat. Following protocol, he reached into his pocket, fumbling for his flashlight, the cold steel a small comfort against the fear attacking his mind. As the beam cut through the darkness, it illuminated the figure more clearly. It appeared to be a young woman, soaked to the bone, dirt smudging her cheeks, eyes wide with panic. Behind her, the forest loomed like a monstrous audience, branches intertwining as if whispering secrets about the horror they had witnessed. What happened? Blake shouted, trying to sound calm despite the tremor in his voice. Something's out there. It took my friends. They just vanished. Her words spilled forth, frantic, each syllable punctuated by a shuddering breath. I was trying to find my way back, and I heard them screaming. I thought it was just the wind at first, but it felt wrong. With each word, Blake felt a chill spread deeper into his bones. The woods seemed to close in, holding their breath as if waiting for a signal to spring their own trap. "Your friends? Where?" Her eyes darted around, glimmering with fear. "I don't know. They were right behind me. And then I turned, and they were gone. Just gone." His heart raced, pounding against his chest like a drum of warning. "We need to get out of here. Can you lead me to them?" She nodded, a flicker of hope igniting in her gaze. They started moving, the beam of light quivering as Blake edged into the looming darkness. Every rustle of leaves, every crack of a branch made him freeze, his senses heightened to a breaking point. But as they moved, her jagged breaths began to slow. Confusion crept in. "Where are we?" she whispered, her voice a thin thread shrinking against the night. Blake squinted into the abyss around them, shadows playing tricks on his mind. He'd walked these paths countless times, yet now they twisted into a labyrinth of dread. "Just a little further. We'll find them. Please, we have to hurry." Her whisper was urgent. But just as he turned to reassure her, her scream shattered the night once again, piercing through the trees like a knife. She was gone, swallowed by the woods, as if she had never been there at all. Blake staggered back, panic rising in his throat. He blinked rapidly, searching the inky darkness for any sign of her, but it was as if the forest had consumed her whole. The weight of the silence pressed down on him, heavy and thick, and the shadows danced menacingly. Something was watching, he could feel it. In a moment fueled by primal fear, Blake turned, ready to escape, but the forest had different plans. At the edge of the beam, a figure loomed, its face both familiar and yet terrifyingly wrong. He felt his legs give way, terror flooding through his veins. What had he stumbled into? As a wicked, echoing laugh sliced through the air, he realized he might never find out what lurked in the depths of the darkness. With his heart pounding, Blake took off deep into the woods, unsure of what awaited him but knowing that every shadow could be the last thing he ever saw. Could he survive the night? Or would he, too, become a ghost lost in the forest? Blake sprinted blindly, branches clawing at his clothes, a cacophony of whispers chasing him down the twisted path. The laughing ghastly, echoing, a sound that lodged deep in his mind followed with relentless pursuit. He gulped air, the cold filling his lungs, each breath coming hard against the terror that coursed through him. The beam from his flashlight danced frantically, illuminating the gnarled trees, their roots like skeletal fingers reaching into the ground, grasping for any lost soul. He was losing it. The sounds of the forest morphed into a sickening symphony, and every snap of a twig sent jolts of fear shooting through him. "Think, Blake. What's the way out?" he muttered to himself, forcing coherence into the storm of panic. He stopped for a heartbeat, straining to listen, to regain some semblance of clarity. The laugh was gone, replaced by a new sound, a low thrumming like a heartbeat, rhythmic and unsettling, pulsing from somewhere deep in the woods. He felt it vibrating in his chest, an ancient warning echoing through the air, warning him of eyes that watched from the depths beyond the trees. "Get it together," he hissed, his voice urgent. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there, sliding through the shadows, just beyond the reach of his light. That he turned, instinctively moving away from the sound, but then stumbled over a root. Falling forward, he braced for impact, but the forest seemed to embrace him, its earth warm and inviting for just one moment before revealing its cold reality. Blake pushed himself up, panting, glancing around for any sign of movement, then he saw it, just a flicker in the corner of his eye. A figure, pale and wispy like smoke, drifted through the trees. Was it human? Either way, fear clawed at him. He withheld a scream, contorting his face in horror. This wasn't anything normal. It was an apparition, a fading image wavering between this world and another. "No, no, no," he muttered, trying to shake his focus free from the haunting sight. He moved on, heart racing, and pressed deeper into the forest. But a new sound came beneath his own ragged breaths, a soft, sinister whisper. "Help me!" It was her voice, the young woman from before. His insides twisted painfully. Was it a trap? Was she even real? The words clung to the air like fog. "Where are you?" he shouted, disoriented. A pulse of dread settled over him, thick and suffocating. Blake, the whisper lured, seductive yet filled with despair. Had she truly vanished? Or had the woods tricked him into letting go of hope? Despair flooded through him as he took another step, only to feel the ground shift beneath him. He was losing his footing that he stumbled again, but this time he caught himself. But the forest had begun to shift, the trees twisting and bending like sentient beings aware of his presence. Were they alive? Were they toying with him? Then, just as he felt he might scream out into the gathering shadow, the thrum intensified, pulsing harder, louder. There it was again, a familiar laugh, but this time, closer. He turned, gripping his flashlight, scanning the darkness. "Show yourself," he called, voice trembling, unsure if he wanted an answer. But something emerged from the shadows, hulking and ominous, its form an amalgamation of darkness and dread. No longer a mere shape but a presence, something old, something hungry that had been stirred from its slumber. With the laughter echoing still, Blake realized he wasn't lost in the woods at all. He had wandered into something far darker. And the night was far from over. Would he have the strength to confront this nightmare, or was the forest destined to claim him, too? Blake was frozen, every nerve in him buzzing. Shadows danced around as though alive, taunting him with their shapes. The chilling laughter echoed again, wrapping itself around him like chains. What was this thing? It wasn't just darkness, it was a creature, a primal nightmare given form. His heart raced, pounding like a war drum urging him to run, but terror held him in place. "Come on, Blake. Just move," he yelled at himself, breaking the spell. He spun, adrenaline pumping as he darted deeper into the thicket, branches clawing at him like the desperate hands of the unknown. He could still hear her whisper, a cruel jest of fate layered under the symphony of chaos. "Help me!" There it was again, the voice like a dulled knife slicing through his inner turmoil. It tugged at something deep within him, igniting conflicting instincts of compassion and survival. "Is this a game to you?" he screamed into the dark, the question hanging thick in the air. The woods answered only with silence, yet he could feel their eyes, tens, maybe hundreds fixed on him from the shadows. The thrum pulsed stronger, syncopating with his rapid heartbeat. Each beat screamed at him to escape, yet another part yearned to uncover the source of the haunting voice. What was he doing? His flashlight flickered, a cruel reminder that it would soon join the darkness. He cursed it under his breath, turning it off to conserve its dying light. With the beam gone, he was left to navigate the blackness drawing tighter around him. Taking a cautious step, he felt the ground beneath him shift, not with roots or stones, but something slick, almost gelatinous. He recoiled, stumbling backward as a breathless wave of horror crashed into him. What kind of forest was this? Then, he saw it, a flicker of pale skin shimmering through the thicket. A figure moved fluidly, its body gliding like mist while its eyes burned with a mesmerizing glow. Blake's breath hitched. Was it the woman? Could it really be? "Blake, help me!" The voice was different now, less pleading, more commanding. His instinct to run grappled with a curious pull towards the figure. He took a hesitant step forward, the forest whispering around him, an unseen choir urging him onward. "What do you want? Who are you?" he managed, forcing the words past his dry throat. "Everything you desire, it can be yours if you join me," it beckoned, voice like dark silk wrapping around him, promising sweet salvation or damnation, he didn't know which. Join you? What does that even mean? Doubt clawed at his mind, but the urgent grip of need was insistent. He wanted to save her, to free whatever had shrouded her in this eerie glow. Suddenly, the thrum broke into fragments as a gust of cold wind whipped through the trees, sending debris flying. The figure twisted, disappearing into the gnarled woods, laughter echoing once more, mocking him. "Wait, don't go!" he shouted, heart thumping deafeningly in his chest. But it was too late. The air thickened, the forest closing in. It felt as though the very earth was leaving him behind, unraveling beneath his feet. Blake stumbled back as the laughter faded into an unsettling silence, replaced only by the persistent beat in his chest. He turned, ready to retrace his steps back to the path. Maybe there was still a chance to escape this nightmare alive, but the path wasn't there anymore. Only walls of trees loomed all around him, their roots arching like teeth ready to bite. The woods had changed again, sealing him in. Panic clawed at him. He spun around, desperate. Had he truly lost his way? The night wrapped tighter, shadows deepened, and he realized he was not just lost, he was trapped. Then he heard a low rumble, deeper than his own pounding heart. It felt alive, just like the forest, an ancient growl of something primal awakening from its dormant state. Whatever this thing was, it was hungry. Would Blake uncover the truth lurking in the heart of the woods, or would he vanish like so many before him, swallowed whole by the darkness? Blake's breath came in short gasps, every inhale carrying the sharp tang of fear. The growl reverberated in the air, resonating within him, sending his senses into overdrive. He could feel his heart racing, a frenzied drummer in the chaos, urging him to find an escape, to survive. The trees loomed overhead, gnarled limbs twisting like monstrous fingers. The shadows now felt thicker, almost tangible. They were closing in, and he had to move. Where was the light? Where was the way out? Each moment stretched into an eternity as he fought to fend off the panic isolating him in this living nightmare. "Just think, Blake," he shouted aloud to himself, trying to bite back his fear. He cast his mind back. Remember the last time you walked through the woods at night, the paths marked by memories. The sheened light of the moon, and the trail unveiled before you. This could work. Steeling himself, he turned sharply left, pushing through the dense underbrush, ignoring the sharp sting of branches that lashed against his skin. Each step sank into the damp ground, the trepidation in his gut twisting tighter with every sound, a rustle here, a snap there. How far could he get before whatever hunts these woods caught his scent? "Stay focused," he grunted, wiping sweat from his brow. He willed himself to remember the last direction he'd come from north. Yes. Keep the moon to your right, that's all he had to do. The growl echoed again, and he stopped, staggered by the raw power of it. It was closer now, a low, thrumming menace that crawled beneath his skin. Panic flooded back, threatening to spiral. He pushed forward, teeth gritted against the terror churning in his stomach. Then the laughter returned, sharper, more taunting, swirling upon the dark winds like a haunting refrain. "Where will you run, Blake?" It danced around him, flickering at the edges of his resolve. He glanced over his shoulder, half expecting a figure to materialize behind him, but all that greeted him was the oppressive dark. He jumped at a sudden crash among the trees, a warning that burst through the haze of his fear. Something was out there, and it was hunting him. The sound reverberated like thunder through the silence, and instinct took over. He sprinted blindly, spine prickling, and then an edge. He felt it before he could see it, a drop, the ground giving way, a chasm of black yawning ahead, devouring the shadows around it. Blake skidded to a stop, feet barely gripping the uneven floor. His heart pounded, the noise overwhelming. Staring into the abyss, he gulped. What the hell? He backed away, breaths shallow as dread crept back. This wasn't just a forest, this was a trap. This was designed to ensnare him. Behind him, the growl rumbled once more, closer, more threatening, and he knew he didn't have time to think. With a sudden burst of defiance, Blake turned back towards where he had come, racing for the safety of the trees, not knowing what may lurk there but unwilling to face whatever lay just beyond this precipice. Then he felt a sharp sting on the back of his neck, like ice piercing his skin. He staggered, terror clawing at him as the laughter peaked, echoing through the trees like a twisted melody of triumph. He gasped, looking frantically around for cover, but the shadows surged forward, a tide of darkness swallowing the light. He lunged blindly into the thicket, forcing his way between branches, the laughter still ringing ominously in his ears, surrounding him like a cloak. Suddenly, there was another voice, cutting through the cacophony, barely a whisper yet chilling enough to freeze his blood. "Help me." Was it her? What was happening? Blake faltered, freezing in place, heart hammering, torn between joining the voice or fleeing the creeping doom encroaching behind him. Join me. He was losing his grip. Could he trust it? Or would that lead him to the same fate as all the others? As he stood there, wrestling with his fears, movement flickered at the edge of his vision. Something was coming, something hungry. Would he cave to the alluring darkness or fight against the tide? Only one thing was certain: his decision would forge paths not just for himself, but for the very essence of the woods that sought to consume him. What would he choose? Adrenaline surged through Blake as he clamped down on the fear clawing at his throat. A choice hovered in the air, dense as the fog around him. The uncertainty buckled his knees, but he knew he had to move. "Help me," the voice echoed again, this time sharper. The warning felt real, and yet, it carried a sinister undertone that set his nerves aflame. Who was calling to him? The underbrush rustled behind him, and the growl returned, deeper and more menacing. Digging his heels into the ground, he strained to listen, the laughter ebbing slightly, replaced by the echoes of the voice, a voice that seemed to wrap around him like a siren-esque call. He stepped closer to the direction it came from, longing for connection, but was met with vine-like shadows twisting and creeping toward him like watchers impatient to pounce. "Blake, come here." It was seductive now, more urgent. "No!" he shouted, his voice cracking. "Stay away from me." He shuffled back, forcing his body to obey the instinct that screamed for escape. But the darkness wasn't done with him yet. Branches snapped like bones in the quiet, and the growl grew into a chorus of threats. Something shifted within those trees, lurking and hungry. Blake didn't wait to see what it was. Propelled forward by instinct, he bolted into the thicket, pushing against the gnarly arms of nature, desperate to break free. The path blurred beneath him, the shadows pressed close, clutching at his clothes, his ankles. Rage welled up alongside panic, and he barreled through, clinging to the determination not to be another victim. Each footfall drummed against the damp earth, synchronizing with the thundering rhythm of his heart. And then he hit a wall of darkness, a sheer face of stone, looming high before him. A cave mouth yawned open, an invitation and warning intertwined. Hesitation gripped him like a vice. Was this a sanctuary or a snare? The laughter had faded, the only sound the ragged rise and fall of his breath, mingling with the chill of the night air. The growl was back, hauntingly close. It reverberated along the stone walls, advancing through the rocky crevices. He didn't have time, he had to move. Stepping inside, the door to safety creaked open. It beckoned. "What are you doing?" he hissed to himself, but fear roared louder. He scrambled into the cave, emerging into a darkness so complete it swallowed him whole. "Help me," it echoed within, weaving through the rocky expanse like tendrils of smoke. A shiver rippled through him. "Is anyone in here?" he called out, the sound swallowed quickly by the oppressive quiet. No response came, only the steady drip of water and the faint rustle of disturbed sand. Blake pressed against the wall, instinctively searching for a weapon. His fingers settled on a jagged rock, cool but reassuring. He held it tightly, muscles taut with tension, ready for anything. And then, he sensed a presence, creeping from the shadows. Eyes glimmered, reflections of malice dancing in the faintest light. Blake's pulse quickened, his breath stilling as the silhouette shifted. It was humanoid, yet twisted, shifting in a way that defied logic, blurring in and out like a dream you can't wake up from. "Not that way." The voice faltered again, as if the darkness around him began to distort the words. "They'll find you." Against every instinct, Blake stepped forward, the pull of the voice strong, but the presence shifted closer, a predator hungry for its prey. Just as he braced himself, the creature lunged, and instinct took over. He surged backward, heart racing, the growl harmonizing with his gasps. The cave shook, rocks crumbling from above. And then silence. A soft glow flickered in the distance, juxtaposing with the shadows surrounding him. He needed to choose again, trust the voice or fight the darkness. The moment stretched, holding him captive. Which path would he take? Would the light lead to salvation or deeper destruction? The shadows danced, and the growl returned, echoing ominously, a reminder that whatever hunted him wasn't too far behind. Would Blake find the truth hidden within this labyrinthine darkness in time? The glow flickered again, pulsating just beyond the reach of the darkness. Blake's heart raced, a frantic drumbeat echoing in the silence. Shadows slithered around him, whispering threats he couldn't comprehend. He turned back toward the haunting voice, its urgency pulling at him like a noose. Help me before it's too late. Was he losing his grip on reality? He blinked rapidly as if clearing a fog from his mind. He felt the jagged rock in his hand, grounding him, reminding him of the physical world. Yet the presence lurking in the corners of his vision twisted and surged, beckoning him towards the fickle light. Blake, please. The voice was frantic now, raw with desperation, almost pleading for salvation. The growl returned, louder this time, vibrating against the cave walls. It was as if the very rock around him was a witness to the terror at play. Blake gritted his teeth, the urge to run clashing with the need to understand. He squinted into the light, searching for its source, even as fear clawed at his insides. Trust me. It roared, and the shadows ricocheted behind him, closing in, suffocating. The stillness shattered as Blake felt a surge of instinct that screamed to go. He pivoted, racing towards the beckoning glow, his breath hitching as he stumbled against the uneven rock. Don't leave. The voice erupted, a tone that veered between terror and anger that seized him mid-stride. You can't abandon me. They'll consume you both. He hesitated, doubt spooling in his gut. Could he trust this disembodied voice? Was it a ploy to trap him? The growl crescendoed, a manifestation of the dread rising in his throat. In that moment, he was unsure of anything but one singular fact: something hungry lurked in the depths, waiting to claim its prize. With a deep breath, Blake plunged back through the darkened expanse, seeking the source of the light. As he drew closer, details sharpened. A small, flickering flame danced above a makeshift altar of stones. Curious symbols carved into the surface pulsed uneasily with the glow, casting ghostly reflections on the cave walls. That he dared to reach for the flame, but the shadows frothed around him, the growl morphing into shrieks, a symphony of demons clamoring to drag him into the abyss. Blake recoiled, the surge of energy exploding through his veins. He grasped the rock tighter, a weapon or a lifeline, he couldn't be sure. Why don't you come closer? The voice coaxed, with an edge of madness that sent staying chills down his spine. The truth is here, but you must act quickly. Act quickly, he echoed, his voice shaky. What truth? Everything about the curse. It trembled, teetering on the edge of revelation. The shadows bunched closer, as if to snuff out the light. Blake felt the panic rise again, thick and suffocating. Time was slipping through his fingers, the ground beneath his feet began to tremble, the cave breathing with menace. He had to make a decision: risk everything for a sliver of truth, or retreat into the darkness, sealing his fate against whatever predator stalked him from the depths. With another surge of adrenaline, he reached for the flame. As his fingers danced around the cold stone, the shadows erupted, and the growl morphed into a bone-chilling roar that reverberated through the cave. Don't! You'll unleash it! The voice screamed, twisting his gut into knots. Blake's heart thudded violently against his ribcage. Fear raced ahead of him, the world narrowing, moments crystallizing into a single question: could he handle whatever horrors this choice would bring? Blake! The voice gasped, urgency ringing in its tone. Choose wisely. It's not just your life at stake. As chaos loomed, he prepared himself for the unknown, sweat beading at his forehead. He needed to uncover the truth before it was too late. What awaited him beyond that flame? What horrors would unfold if he took that step? The shadows grew still, anticipation thick in the air, whispering secrets he had yet to discover. Would Blake embrace the darkness or unveil the forgotten truths lurking just out of reach? The moment Blake's fingers brushed the cool stone of the altar, an electric jolt coursed through him, igniting every nerve ending. He felt as if the cave itself was alive, pulsing with the oppressive weight of forgotten histories and unimaginable dread. The shadows surged and twisted violently, converging like a storm around him, howling in a cacophony of rage and despair. Too late. You've awakened it. The voice shrieked, but there was no time for fear. Blake's heart raced, but beneath the pounding thrum, a flicker of curiosity ignited a desperate need to unearth what lay buried beneath the surface of the shadows. That he could sense the growing presence behind him, an entity that hungered, that yearned to claw him back down into the depths. The air thickened with a stench, mold and decay mingled with something far fouler, something alive. He could feel it creeping closer, cold tendrils of fear wrapping around his spine. Blake! Grab the flame! The voice urged, blending with the wails echoing from the void. You have the power to escape this place. The altar flickered brighter as he felt his resolve falter, a war waging within. What if this was all a trick? But then the flame shimmered in his periphery, illuminating the grotesque figures dancing along the cave walls, twisted, deformed, outstretched hands that seemed to clutch at him, pleading and accusatory. Gathering breath and steeling himself, Blake lunged forward, seizing the flame. Its heat surged through him, a warm rush battling the chill wrapping around his heart. For an instant, the shadows recoiled, hissing like a wounded beast, as the flame glowed fiercely in his hand. What do I do? He shouted over the rising terror, the light flickering wildly as he held it aloft. The truth. The voice yelped, desperation flaring anew. You must reveal the curse. Show them what they hide. Blake looked towards the altar, realizing it wasn't merely an object of worship but a vessel of secrets waiting to be unleashed. He closed his eyes, drawing on the flame's power, a rush of warmth now radiating through him, a promise of freedom or doom. The cave murmured as he directed the flame toward the symbols etched into the stone. As the fire intertwined with the dark etchings, they ignited with dazzling light, casting grotesque shadows that twisted and whirled. Blake felt something shift, the air crackling with energy as the echoes of past voices surged into a frenzy, a chorus of anguish and horror swirling to life. Stop! The voice cried out, a note of terror cutting through the chaos. You don't understand. The curse isn't what they've told you. What do you mean? Blake shouted, confusion and fear gnawing at him. What's the truth? Suddenly, a cold gust swept through the cave, extinguishing the flame and plunging him into darkness. He staggered back, panic lacerating through him as shadows leaped forward, more aggressive than before, their whispers morphing into a single, piercing scream. You have to listen. The voice roared, echoing through the void. You've unleashed what should never have been revealed. It will destroy everything. Blake's chest tightened as dread wrapped around him like a vice. The hot pulse of adrenaline turned to ice as he frantically attempted to relight the flame, desperation flooding his every action. But it was too late. From the depths of the cave, something massive stirred, a primal presence unfurling its malice into the air. Blake could feel the very fabric of reality quaking, spiraling out of control. As the shadows consumed him, a chilling realization settled in. The release of the curse was not merely about survival but a reckoning tied deeply to who he was. In that moment, the ground beneath him cracked, and with it, all semblance of safety fell away. The voice pierced through the chaos, frantic and unyielding. Blake! You must remember who you are before it's too late. Terror clawed its way up his throat as Blake faced the encroaching darkness, knowing that he was about to uncover not just the curse, but himself. What awaited him now in this dread-soaked abyss? Would he confront the truth of his existence, or would the shadows swallow him whole? Time was running out. Blake stumbled, feeling the ground shift beneath him. The darkness roared, a living thing wrapping around his legs, pulling him down into a fathomless void. The shadows were relentless, a swarm of memories and nightmares, drawing nearer, their voices rising in a dissonant symphony of despair. Remember. The voice cried, desperate and insistent. It felt like a lifeline tossed into the tempest, but Blake could scarcely grasp it. He could feel the chilling hands of the shadows brushing his skin, probing and testing, needing to claim him. Who am I? He whispered, terror bubbling to the surface. Blake. The voice shot back, filled with urgency, cutting through the murky haze of panic. Focus on the flame. Call it back into existence. In the chaos, a tiny flicker sparked deep within him. It was the faintest warmth, reminiscent of the flame's previous glow. With a determined gasp, he willed it to rise. Go away. He shouted, his voice shaky yet powerful. Still, nothing came. The shadows pulsed and lunged closer, something deep inside him shifted. In the depths of the fear that clawed at his chest, a memory surfaced, a childhood image of flickering light guiding him through the woods at night, laughing along with friends around a campfire. Regaining composure, he concentrated on that memory, allowing it to ignite the coil of warmth. Come on. He bellowed. A surge, brighter than before, burst forth. The darkness shrieked, recoiling as the flame ignited in his hand. It was a sparking sun in an ocean of blackness, and he held it aloft, feeding off that familiar energy radiating from his soul. The shadows writhed, hissing at the light, and Blake beamed it toward the altar, now emanating ethereal symbols like stars spilling from a ruptured sky. The etchings reacted, glowing with ancient power, carving out a path in the thick black fog. Blake, don't just hide behind it. Use it. The voice urged, now steady and sure, merging into the cadence of his own rapid breaths that he glanced backward, dread washing over him like ice water as he caught a glimpse of the vast, swirling mass of darkness coalescing into a roiling form. It twisted and expanded, clawed appendages reaching toward him, drawn to the flickering light as if it was a moth to a flame. He had no choice. Fueled by instinct and fervor, he charged toward the altar, plunging the flame back into the arcane symbols. The resulting burst of light was blinding, a shockwave that reverberated through the cave, shaking the earth itself. Reveal the curse. He screamed, heart roaring. As the symbols erupted into a cascade of illumination, somehow he felt the crackle of connection and understanding of the curse that bound him and the shadows. It wasn't just an ancient evil. It was an entity fueled by fear. The darkness seeped from grief, lost souls who wandered too far into the abyss. Their cries for help had twisted into the malevolence enveloping him. Blake, the voice called softly, yet he sensed it transforming, a mix of compassion and urgency. You must help them. He stammered, heart racing, grappling with the enormity of it all. But how? I can't. Look at them. They were wrong. He could see now there was a vulnerability beneath their rage, a suffering rooted in isolation, just like his own. Could uncovering the truth save them? The shadows shivered at the edges of the light, and he reached out to them. I know what you want. You want to be set free. In that moment, the cave walls responded, shimmering with the emotions that echoed throughout time. Twilight shapes danced within the flickering light of the flame, threading through the stories of the lost souls, but even as the catharsis began, a violent tremor rocked the ground beneath him. The dark force was fighting back, thrashing against the bright aura Blake had conjured, howling in furious defiance. Could he really face the entity behind all of it? Suddenly, the shadows froze, an electric silence crashing down, and every anxious breath felt like an eternity clinging to his throat. Do you dare to see? The voice asked, the shadows. Trembling with both terror and hope, leaving him with a choice that would seal his fate. What truth could shatter the darkness surrounding him? What remnants of the past would come to life if he dared to venture deeper? Blake stood at the precipice, heart thrumming, holding the flickering flame as though it contained the last hope of the world. The cave pulsed around him, shadows swirling like a tempest, and the echoes of the past beckoned with promises of release but also kept him shackled. The choice loomed before him: would he dare to uncover the truth behind the darkness? "Blake, focus!" The voice cried out from somewhere deep within the shadows. It was filled with urgency now, and he felt a tether, a pull toward compassion, the stories of the lost woven amid the chaos. He had to take the leap into the unknown, it was the only way. With a breath that felt like fire racing through him, Blake steadied the flame toward the glittering symbols on the altar. They shimmered with ancient energy, entwined with the weight of countless souls trapped in sorrow. "You want to be free," he shouted, the truth resonating in his bones like a drumbeat. "You don't want to be alone anymore," his voice echoed, swelling with emotion, the reality of their pain urging him onward. The flame flared, bright and fierce, illuminating every crevice of the cave, pushing back against the relentless darkness. The shadows writhed with fury, but he pressed on, using that connection to amplify the light. "Feel it!" he yelled, conviction booming. "You were once whole. There is love, there is light. We can break this together." There. A shimmer of recognition flickered among the roiling shadows. It was subtle, a fleeting moment where the rage cracked, revealing the anguish underneath. Blake seized it, channeling every ounce of his being into the flame. The shadows recoiled, twisting in and out of sight as if battling against their own release. "Together!" he cried out again. "You can emerge from this pain." Then, he felt it, a shift in the air, something was awakening, stirring deep within the abyss, a born of grief and longing. The cave trembled, the growls erupting into wails of both agony and relief. It was a chorus, their voices rising to a crescendo, harmonizing with the truth he had sparked among them. "Show me the truth," Blake whispered, surrendering to the fire within. The walls glowed like molten gold, and the darkness surged back, trying to consume him, but the flame pushed forward, rebuffing their onslaught, illuminating flickers of memories woven into the very fabric of the cave. Suddenly, a vision bloomed before him, a swarm of faces locked in fear, laughter, and anguish, a park ranger lost, campers gone, a loop of sorrow. Blake's heart ached as stories unfolded like a tapestry, woven with threads of dreams now turned to nightmares. Each figure revealed the pain of being lost, being trapped in a cycle of their own despair. They had been unable to find the light, unable to break free. "Please!" Blake shouted to the darkness, to the figures trapped within. "You do not have to do this. Join me, and together we can escape." A fierce pulse coursed through him, the shadows swirling violently, but the flame was now bright enough to illuminate even the darkest hearts. The trapped souls began to ripple, their cries morphing from anguish to tentative whispers, reaching out toward the light. Together the chorus whispered, growing in strength. Blake stepped forward, heart thundering, and reached out, allowing the light to encompass him. In that moment, a connection sparked, something ancient and powerful enveloping him like a warm embrace, pulling him in as he joined the wails of the lost. The darkness roared, retaliating against their merging light, yet there was no turning back. The flame surged, a beacon of hope tearing through the silence, and Blake, with the weight of all their souls, erupted with a unified cry. "We are more than fear." Clarity erupted like a dawn breaking the night. The shadows trembled, disintegrating before the force of their combined light, surrendering at last. The cave shuddered, an earthquake of emotions crushing through the once primal darkness. Faces twisted in relief flashed before him, the smiles of those who had been lost beginning to reclaim their warmth. The darkness convulsed, and with one last mighty roar, it collapsed inward upon itself, leaving behind echoes of gratitude and redemption. Blake stumbled as the cave around him erupted in radiant light. The flame burned bright, shimmering with every color, illuminating the hope of being found. As the last remnants of darkness swirled away, he felt weightless, untethered from the bonds of fear wrought within the woods for so long. Suddenly, the cave opening widened, revealing the outside world, 1,000 stars twinkling in the black sky, the forest breathing easy for the first time in ages. He raced to the mouth of the cave, bursting into the cool night air. Freedom washed over him like a torrent, a sweet relief mixing with the exhilaration of victory. The forest stood alive around him, a symphony of rustling leaves and distant animal calls. He felt the presence of the once trapped souls, a gentle hand on his shoulder, guiding him through the trees, whispering their thanks. He smiled, heart swelling with warmth, knowing they were finally at peace, and in the heart of the woods, the shadows receded, remnants of a fear long gone, opening pathways for those who dared to step into the night together. As Blake walked into the embrace of the moonlit forest, he felt alive, a guardian now, a ranger of the light that arose from the depths of darkness. He would tell their stories, ensure neither loneliness nor despair haunted the trails again. They would never be forgotten. So, as this chapter closes, let it remind you bravery exists within us all, waiting to rise when we need it most. Embrace the light, step off the edge, and break the chains of fear. The path remains, and adventure awaits, but before you leave, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Blake's journey. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Join this amazing community today.